I met like the top, what is it? The recruiter from EA. She was
Right.
like a executive recruiter or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. I met her at GDC and I told her I made Covet Fashion. She was like, "What? You? No way. A guy made this? Like, no way."
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
Wordle.ai presents Game Dev and All Tech.
Hi, everybody.
Very fancy.
Welcome again to Game Dev and All Tech, where we talk about gaming and anything tech related going on in the industry. I'm your host, Will Bohn, behind Wardle, and with me today is Brian Jin. Brian, I know we've worked together for a while, and but just for the audience, just tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from and based.
Yeah, so I'm Brian Jin, from San Francisco, California. Been in the industry for about 19 years now, and I'm a product and game designer currently. But I've had many roles in the past, but I kind of just like to stick to the basic trades. Um,
Awesome. And then maybe tell us a little bit about your background, and then how you got started in the whole gaming industry.
yeah, I mean it's kind of I mean it's I guess it's a kind of an interesting story, but when I was a kid, I was really into Magic the Gathering. I was probably 12 when it first came out, and
Mhm.
I guess I had everyone's dream job, at least when they're younger. My first job was at a comic book store,
Oh,
and
cool.
yeah, and I learned a lot about trading card games, and at the time, the cards had value, of course, and they still have value now. They're way more expensive now. But during the time period and just living in a bubble in San Francisco, primarily my job was to kind of assess the power and of the card, its usefulness in tournament play and stuff, and kind of gauge a price point for it. So
Mhm.
I kind of just ran the entire collectible card game side of the store, and ironically, that type of experience kind of propelled me into gaming because the first job that I got was in for Silk Road Online, and that was the number one international free to play game at the time, 2004 ish, I believe, 2004, 2005 ish.
Mhm.
And because it's a free to play game, they focus on monetization.
Mhm.
So around 2005, I applied for that job. Um, Oddly enough, I was also the number one player in that game, so I knew a lot about the game, and I knew a lot about monetization and its
Right.
power and rarity and stuff, and
Uh-huh.
just because of the trading card thing back in the day. And yeah, I applied for the job. There was an ad out. The
Mhm.
company's name is Joymax. They're still around today. Still, Silk Road is still around today. Still,
Oh, cool.
and yeah, and I was the only person to actually get the job out of something crazy like 10,000 applicants. But
Wow.
probably 99% of them are all BS anyway. So yeah,
Do you still play that game, or?
no, I quit the game once I joined the company.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just kind of one of those things where I kind of believed at the time that I should just be mindful and make business decisions and not have any type of biased opinion based off of
Right.
my own experience. So I wanted to advocate more for the company rather than advocating for myself, who was a top player in the game. And yeah, so basically I didn't want to I didn't want to force the company to make my life easier in the game. So I just flat out quit altogether.
Well, it's good that you kind of did that judicious move of kind of removing yourself from having any sort of biases. Um,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, also, it's a free to play MMO and it's a Korean RPG, so naturally you have to grind pretty long every single day, at least 8 hours per day. And with a full
oh,
time job, there's just like no way for me to do that. I think
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean that goes work-life balance. Like you cannot play a 8 hours a day game and have a day job at the same time, unless
yeah.
you sacrifice sleep, I guess.
Right. I think for the first couple of months I was sacrificing sleep, and because I lived in San Francisco and the office was in San Jose, I had to commute about 3 hours total per day. So that that wasn't
Wow,
helping my work-life balance either. So I literally just went to work and sleep and grinded for a couple of months, and I just but eventually just gave up.
awesome. Well, not awesome, but kind of glad you moved on and.
Uh, it was pretty awesome though. It was an awesome experience. I met my first boss. Her name is Mary Min. She's the one that hired me, and she's pretty well known in the gaming industry as well. So,
Yeah, Mary's awesome.
hmm
Um, and tell us about maybe some of the other games that you've worked on along the way. You mentioned one, Silk Road Online, but um,
yeah, yeah. So oddly enough, the games that I've worked on are it's pretty much everything except for console. I've never done a console game. So the
okay.
early days of my career, I only primarily did PC Korean free-to-play MMOs,
Mhm,
and the other game that I ran was called Fiesta Online.
mhm.
This, yeah, so this game I managed for about 2 years, and this one was a little more interesting because we really focused on the community and building a community around the product. And I was, I created this persona, and I was very popular with the players. And I would say that's probably one of the best experiences I've had working in the industry for out of 19 years. Um,
So it's like that sort
after,
of
yeah.
community building aspect is kind of also important for somebody operating a game and making it more fun, right?
Yeah, I think what's important is to kind of know, obviously, know your customer is very important, but also
Yeah.
like having a presence in the game for the customer is also very important because they really just need someone to talk to. And back in the day, game master role was pretty popular. Like if you ever wanted to break into the industry, being a game master was probably the best way to do it because it's really just a fancy way of saying customer service. You're
Right.
kind of like a liaison. Yeah, you're kind of a liaison between the customer and the development team or product team or whoever you need to talk to. But I remember the first day I worked at on Fiesta Online. The company's name was called Outspark, by the way.
Mhm.
The first day I had to perform a wedding. I was like, "What?" So some other game master gave me a wedding script, and I had to type this in manually into the game chat. And all these people attended this wedding, and I said, okay, well, that's a first. I've never done that before, but I think I officiated probably 50 weddings or something.
Wow.
Yeah, before they made a system for it. This is before the actual developers made a system for it. Yeah.
They actually systematized it. That is
Yeah. Yeah, they did because marriage system was pretty popular for Korean MMOs, especially Ragnarok Online. Actually, I forgot to mention that I was like the number one player in Ragnarok Online too, between 2001 and 2002 ish, and
oh
that also like helped me teach taught me how to about MMOs and Korean stuff, and I was pretty hardcore. So, and I kind of graduated from there to Silk Road Online, where I guess I had a little bit more um, disposable income because Ragnarok was a subscription based game,
right.
and Silk Road is a free to play game. Yeah,
Okay. This is a very different
yeah,
monetization model and
Y-
incentive system.
yeah. Yeah, I would say Silk Road Online is probably the first, if not the first, batch of free to play games to enter North America. There
Mhm.
was Fly for Fun and probably some other ones, but G Potato, Joymax, they were probably one of the bigger companies. interesting enough, the Korean government has the building they own in San Jose. It's more for like startups from
Right.
Korea. So all of the companies are like in the same building. Um, so yeah, going back to some other projects I worked on, I, I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot for this one, but around 2009, Zynga actually scouted me and asked me to work on Farmville, and I said no. This was very early Farmville Zynga days when they were worth
Right.
like a bajillion dollars. I had no idea because I had no intention of leaving the PC space.
Right.
But yeah, and I missed that opportunity. So I kind of said, I don't want to miss that opportunity again. So
Uh-huh.
the next social games company that comes my way, I'm going to join it. And
Yeah.
that company happened to be CrowdStar. At the time, they were the number 3 or 4 company that was building Facebook games. I believe it was Zynga, Playdom, Playfish, and CrowdStar was like the top 4. And I inherited this title called Happy Pets. And it was interesting because again, it was really solely based on community and monetization, which was kind of up my alley from Fiesta. And but it was almost one of my first game design roles because prior to that, Silk Road and Fiesta were not really game design roles. They were more merchandising roles, which kind of led back to the Magic the Gathering history. But yeah, so I worked on a title called Happy Pets. It was insanely popular. It was probably like the most popular pet game on Facebook. And I the first month or 2 months or something, I 10x the revenue, and then the company was like, "Hey, actually, product managers are pretty useful. We should hire more of them." So yeah, I kind of sniped my entire team from Fiesta and brought them over to CrowdStar, and that happened.
Well, what did
Yeah.
you do to 10x the revenue? Like how'd you, what was the secret
Yeah,
sauce behind that?
I I think the secret it's I don't know if it was it's is it a secret? I don't know. It's again getting to know your customers and wanting understanding what they want. And I think at the time, there wasn't really a defined clear goal of the game, but clearly, at least looking at the data, people were most interested in the breeding mechanic because we had this dynamic breeding process where you would put 2 pets together, and based on their traits, it would pop out some other pet with random traits. And
Mhm.
I kind of went more fantasy rather than sticking to real world stuff because it was kind of boring, and I went more exotic. Um, I think the first big thing that I did was an Alice in Wonderland theme where I used the kind of drink me and eat me scenes from the movie where she shrinks and she grows,
Right.
and that kind of blew up. Where the pets now they have variable size up to 3, 4, 500%, and I don't know if you could find this online, but I have pictures of it still. The biggest thing was called Catzilla, so that's what everyone went crazy for that, and I started introducing all these weird things and stuff, and people just they like to hoard and stuff. So
Right.
I always yeah, I kind of told everyone at the time that you monetize off 2 things. You monetize off time and space.
Mhm.
And time meaning, speed ups and all those things, and space, not literally like outer space, but space as in, inventory space.
Mm.
So yeah, capacity, stuff like that. And those became the 2 biggest levers for any game that I've produced after. But after Happy Pets, CrowdStar wanted to experiment with mobile because mobile was very new. This was probably 2010 when the iOS App Store was
just
a
starting
little
to
more mature. Yeah, just starting. I think even maybe 1 or 2 years before that, they had a couple games. I actually was asked to work on Tap Tap's Revenge. I don't know if you remember that game, but it was kind of like
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
Guitar Hero. Yeah, but I declined that one and never did that. But um, yeah, so we Crowdstar was famous for doing a Facebook game called It Girl. It was the first female geared centric title based around, shopping mechanics and stuff. No other company was going that direction. They were all just trying to copy Farmville and whatever Ville Zynga was coming out with at the time.
Mhm.
And we went the other direction to capture a different demographic because, ad costs or user acquisition is expensive back then. It still is. So yeah, I mean
I think
the
it's
whole design of
more expensive
huh?
now. If anything, it's
Yeah, yeah,
probably
yeah. Yeah, so it's way more expensive now. I mean, the whole design of the game is to try to capture an audience that where the user acquisition costs aren't that high.
right.
A potentially unserved demographic. Now now you have a lot of female games and stuff. But I honestly want to say like Top Girl, Coveted Fashion were definitely the front runners for this, especially on iOS. So yeah, Top Girl was the first game actually designed by myself, produced and everything with a very small team with like maybe 6 people, and we finished it over a vacation, like a work vacation in Maui.
Whoa.
So yeah, we finished it. It's pretty fast.
How long was the vacation?
I mean, the vacation it was more at the tail end of the product, so the vacation was only, probably 5 days or something, maybe even less, right? But we finished it and then we launched the game shortly after. But yeah, I mean, Top Girl reached number 1 in its category, number 3 in overall, which is pretty impressive. And Crowdstar kind of, everyone loves this word, but they pivoted from Facebook to iOS.
Yeah.
Yeah, naturally at the time, the Facebook developers and stuff, they're not really the same type of developers you need for iOS. So a lot of people need to either grow their skill set or, you know, I guess get fired or something. But
I guess it's
um,
still the case, now with things changing all the time and tool sets and everything. I mean, the ecosystem itself is just constantly in flux, and so it's kind of adapt or die, right?
yeah, definitely. I mean, you do need to adapt or die. It's kind of a survival of the fittest type of thing. But I mean, I always ask people, like, imagine you're going to the doctor's office and you have this, 80-year-old doctor, and the guy doesn't keep up to date with current technology, and you break your arm or something, and he gets a stick and some tape and just says, "Okay, all good," and
Yeah.
sends you on your way. It's like, where's my cast? Where's the X-rays? Oh, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, so there are certain professions where they have to upkeep their licenses every couple of years. Doctors, lawyers, laws change all the time too, right?
Right.
So if you're not the type of person that can adapt to technology to anything really, I mean, this is not the industry for you. I mean, you might as well just be making coffee at Starbucks or something, because that's not going to change.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the success of Top Girl kind of jump started the next wave of female fashion games for Crowdstar, and I worked on a title called Covet Fashion. And that's probably the one that I'm most famous for, is Covet Fashion, because that was like the real true kind of, it was more in depth RPG, and it had live competitions and stuff like that, and it was kind of everything that we wanted to do. We really focused on avatar systems and the beauty of it and stuff, and it was very interesting because essentially like the entire game team was uh, combined. Like it was almost like we went to a fashion school and just hired people directly from school. Like, we, with no game design background, they were like fashion designers or bloggers or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. So it was a very interesting time, and the popularity of coveted fashion actually changed CrowdStar's business model to really only focus on female-centric games, and because of that, they sold to Glue. I think Glue sold it to someone else. I don't
You
keep
skip
up,
past.
but yeah, I did. It got sold to EA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so EA owns the title now, Covet Fashion, and yeah, because I met like the top, what is it, the recruiter from EA. She was
Right.
like a executive recruiter or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. I met her at GDC and I told her I made Covet Fashion. And she was like, "What? You? No way. A guy made this? Like, no way."
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
Well, I guess that's also like a, why did you guys pick the, these like very female-centric games instead of something that could appeal to, a wider audience?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which was the cost for acquisition for user, right? User acquisition cost. And that's kind of what the strategy was. It's we used to have this strategy. There's actually a book about this. It's called Blue Ocean Strategy.
Right.
It's kind of going where no one else is versus a red ocean where there's like a bloodbath, right? So if you want to be the guy who just copies the next Farmville game or something, you could be that guy. And a lot of those companies did sell at that time because during 2010, 2011, 2012, you could start up a company, build one title, and sell it for maybe $1 million and just cash out and just peace out,
Yeah.
But but we weren't doing that. We tried to build the company to $500,000, $1 billion or something. At the time when Happy Pets was very popular and Happy Aquarium, Microsoft did offer us like I think 210. I don't know. You can look this up. It's somewhere. But at the time, all the other game companies were selling for 400. It was like, Disney bought Playdom, and EA bought Playfish. So and all so it was kind of like everyone was just kind of doing it to cash out real fast, but we weren't that company.
Right. And then in your job and when you're actually doing what you do in game design, what are the main tools that you kind of use day to day nowadays as part of that?
Yeah. I mean, back in the day, we used to use just Photoshop, Illustrator, PowerPoints just to get our kind of vision across, and then potentially, another UI or UX artist or regular artist to does the final work. But now a lot of my stuff is just done in Figma, and documentation is done in Notion. So I think Figma is probably the most powerful tool, just because it's cloud based. And back then you didn't really have that, right? You were passing around a document off a drive or something, or emailing it, and the versions were always out of date. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's changed a lot, and again, it's one of those adapt or die things. Like if I keep using PowerPoint and Photoshop, it's going to be very difficult, especially since I work remote and my team is global. So having cloud-based technology makes it really easy.
Yeah.
I'm self-taught in Figma. I never took a class, so it's like just dive in and start doing it, man. Figma is like the best thing.
Awesome
for designers. Yeah.
You just went in there, rolled up your sleeves, and did it. Love that.
Yeah, man. It's like, if you want something done right, do it yourself kind of your thing. I'm a firm believer of, if you're a business owner, let's say if you own like a restaurant or something, you better know how to cook everything on the menu, because once the cooks realize that they have all the power in the restaurant, they either threaten you, retaliate, or whatever, and then you could potentially left to close down your business. So you really need to learn how to do shit yourself.
Well, plus, like, I guess in some cases the developers or whoever you're working with, they can try and was it snow you and basically like try and throw terms and things at you and make it seem like oh, we have to change the hyperflux capacitor to do this thing, and then but if you know what is that's going on behind the thing, you'd be like There's none of that. Like
Yeah.
BS.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, my car can go 88 miles an hour, so hopefully I can get Back to the Future. But it's like, I, I, I have done projects with developers, and they would always just tell you something. It may or may not be true because I'm not a software developer. I don't know if it's true.
Right.
That's why when you start a company, you have a CTO. You
Yeah.
know, I don't have a CTO, so I can't really validate those things.
Mhm.
So you have experts in those certain professions, right? And that's who you're trusting to take control of that. As a CTO, hopefully you have at least a third of the stake or something in the company, so you're definitely not going to quit.
Yeah. Yeah. Solid co-founder if you're starting your own.
Exactly. You have to be a co-founder, and yeah, but sometimes we don't have the luxury of doing that. Sometimes you just take chances, and that's why I kind of myself personally, I just focus on the design side. I don't really focus on development anymore. I just think of myself as a mercenary.
And then I guess how does that kind of fit into what you're doing now, into your future career goals?
Yeah, I mean, it's been almost 2 decades since I've been doing this type of role, but I think at the fundamental root of what I want is I am a designer,
Mhm.
and I don't mind getting my hands dirty. When I was younger, actually, I used to build cars and fabricate stuff and design turbo systems. There's a lot of weird stuff I did, and
Yeah.
um, I was really interested in industrial design, and even up to last year, I was building motorcycles. I would build them from the frame up. So I'm always into design, and I'm not the type of guy who's gonna bring all his stuff to a shop and have them build it for me either.
Right.
Again, it goes back to the shop just claiming like, oh yeah, we need to replace the flux capacitor. You're like, what? That's gonna be $888. You're like, huh? Like, I guess so. Just do it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm really there's a question. Some people, I don't know if they do this anymore because I haven't been on a job interview in a very long time, but there used to be this question that I get asked, and it's always, where do you see yourself in 5 years? That's
Right.
such a
Right. Right.
bullshit question, such
Yeah.
a crock of shit question. My answer to that is always, well, I don't see I see myself where the industry is going in 5 years, and then I talk about where I think the industry is going.
Mm-mm.
And and actually, at the time, I think the last time I got asked this question, I was talking about streaming games. Like
Yeah.
you wouldn't have to buy a game; you would just download it and shit like that
Yeah.
from somewhere, and people thought I was insane. So, um, but yeah, I mean, look where we are now. And you and I, we worked on instant games at Facebook for Facebook Messenger, right? So you're downloading the game every single time you play it. I mean, yeah, it's not a 50 gigabyte client; it's like a 50 megabyte client, but it happened.
It
It
gets
happened.
cached. It gets cached.
Yeah, it gets cash. I mean, okay, you download it once, and hopefully whatever. But
Yeah.
I mean, it happens, right? And I also ask I usually do interviews with CEOs because I'm a kind of a director level guy, so I always talk to CEOs, and I ask them, what's your vision for the company, where you want to go,
Yeah.
and if they can't really give me a good answer, I don't even bother replying back. I don't even give a shit if they offer me something. I'm just like, I don't want to work for this guy. I don't believe in him. It's like I would rather work for Steve Jobs and he's a tyrant, right? But
Yeah.
he's a crazy billionaire guy. At least he has money to back it up. I'm not going to work for some dude who has no money and it treats me the same way. So
Right.
it's like, yeah, you have to have a vision and you have to sell me on the vision in order for me to buy it. It's the same thing with anything, right? It's like if you want to buy a new car, you talk to the sales guy. The guy's like, you would look really nice in this Ferrari. You know that? You start trying to dress the part and look the part, and then you kind of have this vision, right? But
Yeah.
if you're just not that type of guy to kind of fulfill it, then you're not gonna enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I guess kind of you know I mean, it sounds like, just having that vision and being able to convey it is important as a leader.
Very,
Period.
yeah, I mean, it's very important. I mean, think about like how all of the companies are doing their advertisements now. They're not hiring actors and stuff. They're CEOs and operational people like doing these talks, you know. They're
Yeah.
very they're very professional. They're good speakers, you know, and they know how to pace you through convey the story and like what it offers you. It's solving a problem, right? So, you know,
Yeah.
even when you interview at a company, they have to do the same thing. It's like if you're that desperate to take a job just for money, just go make coffee at Starbucks. They don't need to sell you a vision. You just know it's coffee.
Right. The vision is delicious coffee with
Yeah, the vision is to get people addicted to coffee, I guess. And yeah, I go to Starbucks every day, so it works on me.
Speaking of which, how do you
Yeah,
deal with work-life balance?
work-life balance. It's probably like a newer thing. You know, when I'm younger, there's probably been pretty much no balance. You know, I talked about earlier where I'm commuting 3 hours a day and working a full shift and you know being tired at the end of it. But now it's more about you know, flexibility. And so I basically just choose jobs where I have a lot of flexibility. And I've been working remote for about 10 years. And the kind of analogy I like to say is, you know, COVID was my everyday life. So I mean, if you went through COVID and everyone did, and you
Yeah.
experienced it, and you've experienced the freedom, you've experienced no commute. You're more relaxed. You can you know use your own toilets. You don't have to talk to anyone. You don't have to dress up every single day. You don't need to put on a smile and whatever, and you just attend meetings and do your work and maybe play with your cat every now and then or something. Um, yeah, I mean, COVID is just my regular daily life, and I think it's important for people to really pick good companies and good projects and not necessarily pick dream roles.
Hmm.
Yeah, I tried to explain this to one of my friends last time, and she was like, "What do you mean?" And
Hmm.
I said, "Well, there's a very popular song on TikTok right now. All the women are apparently looking for 6'5" guys in finance with a trust fund with blue eyes.
Right.
And just because that guy comes along, are you going to date him? Like, you know, what if he's an asshole? What if he treats you like shit? What if he's cheating on you? You know, are you still going to stick with him? You know, so you have these criteria of things that you want versus what you're actually getting. So
Hmm.
when you're picking a dream, when you're picking a dream role, that could be, oh, well, I'm the senior manager of A, B, C, D, F, G, or I'm the director or whatever, right? It's like, who the
Yeah.
hell cares? Like, I really don't give a shit about titles. It's like,
Mhm.
what I care about is what I bring to the table, not necessarily how people, you know, perceive me and
Mhm.
based on my title. So yeah, pick the job that you think suits your lifestyle and you'll definitely be more happy. And
I guess your
being a
life.
remote, sorry,
I guess your lifestyle and maybe also like your skill set too, right? Like if totally if
yeah, for sure,
water, like probably doesn't make a lot of sense either, right?
yeah, for sure. But I mean, there are a lot of perks too. You know, you and I, you know, we worked in Japan together, but I didn't live in
Yeah.
Japan, so I counted this, and because I had to fill out my visa application, I flew to Japan 15 times in 2 years. That's a
Really?
lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was a lifestyle I wanted, you know, and
Yeah.
um, it worked out for me. And it's like I said, you know, pick companies with perks, and traveling is one of them, and working from home is one of them, and working on any time zone is one of them, you know. So,
Right.
yeah.
Cool. And then what advice would you give to people who are trying to break into the industry and you know just get into the gaming industry?
Fulfill your dreams and desires, right?
Know
I
your
mean, the,
dreams. Yeah, be
the
a video
crazy
game guy.
the you know the crazy thing is that, I don't want to break anyone's hearts, but they think that they want to get into the gaming industry because they love games. I can tell you, once you get into any industry and it becomes your job and not your hobby anymore,
Yeah.
it's work.
Right.
So you don't want to look at it no more. You know what I'm saying? So if it's like the old saying, the cobbler's kid, like the shoes, like the cobbler's kid's shoes or something is always broken or something like that. Um, yeah, because it's like he doesn't have time to fix his own shit, or like maybe a house cleaner who cleans houses for a living and they have the messiest house. They just don't want to do it themselves. So, I mean, okay, so with that, by saying that, I mean,
You'll start to hate games. Like
yeah,
soon
you'll
you
start, yeah.
hate games.
I don't actually play games anymore. So I haven't played games for a while because I got banned from Blizzard, but that's probably a different story for another time. Um, and yeah, it kind of goes to this Chinese philosophy of Bruce Lee. He said, knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, so we must do. So my advice is like, if you have the will and you want to do it, just go and do it. It's like 20 years ago, there wasn't a game design school and there wasn't a boot camp for coding. There wasn't like all this other bullshit you see. Like, you got to realize that schools are a business and they're just going to take your money no
Yeah.
matter what. They don't promise you success. They're trying to sell you a dream. Like, again, like this goes back to the thing that I talked about earlier, was like, what's your vision?
Yeah.
So, I mean, schools, their vision is to sell you a dream, man. I mean, I'm a 3-time college dropout. I don't have a degree or anything.
Mhm.
And so if you have that passion, if gaming is your passion, like, why wouldn't you just apply yourself to it? I mean, I did. I spent 5 years playing Diablo 2 hardcore. I was like probably the best PvP player in North America. I wouldn't compare myself to the Koreans because they're godly, but I mean, I was just bullying people all day for 5 years. And Ragnarok Online, again, it's like, if you're gonna be good at something, just be good. Like, I don't understand why people don't strive to be good and when they play games, because I play to win. Like, if I'm gonna play a game seriously, I play to win. Like, who the hell plays to lose? Like,
Yeah.
are you gonna go play golf and like intentionally try to lose? Like, if you're gonna play every single day, why wouldn't you try to be better? Like, you have to
Right.
set your own goals, right? So my advice is like, set some goals, set some timelines also, because you don't want to keep dragging it on forever. So it's like, what knowledge do you have that you can apply to the industry and kind of see where you fit in like a specific role? Like I said, don't follow the dream role, just follow like maybe your dream project or company. Like, I know a lot of people, they love Fortnite and Overwatch and StarCraft and whatever. They like all
Yeah.
these AAA titles, and everyone's like, "Oh, I want to go work for Epic. I want to go work for Blizzard." I'm like, "No, you don't, dude. That's like the worst place to work, dude." You know, I interviewed 5 times at Riot. I never got an offer to join Riot, but I've interviewed multiple times there. And at the end of the day, I just realized like corporate life is not for me, man, because you make very little impact on the team. And yeah.
So it's a big
So
opportunity for people to, start their own things and an indie scene. And I mean, also, you know, uh, I'm just curious your thoughts on this too, but like,
yeah,
we've seen a lot of layoffs in the industry in the past
yeah,
year. And my take on it is that there's going to be a lot more of the guys who used to be, as part of these AAA studios. They're going to make out their own studios and
yeah,
rough it out as a indie game studios.
yeah.
It's kind of my prediction. I mean, what do you?
Yeah.
Curious what your thoughts are on and the great gaming layoffs that we just had recently.
I mean, it's not even just gaming layoffs; it's just all tech. All right.
Yeah,
I'm based in Silicon Valley, so I see it all over the place, from Facebook, Google, Apple, whatever.
Mhm.
But especially Twitter and stuff. But it's like, honestly, I mean, Okay, I would say a lot of, and this maybe people will get on my case for this, but if you got laid off, if you were the one that got laid off, you probably didn't contribute as much as you should have. And I've been a studio head, I've been in managerial positions where I had to name people to lay off, and they were always underperforming or they were getting overpaid for something they did. I mean, you watch all these TikTok videos of these people, these really young kids, they go into like the office of Twitter and all they do is like have a coffee, do yoga and have lunch, have one meeting and they go home. It's like, what
Yeah.
the hell? So they don't really contribute much. So it's like if you're really passionate about your job, like I said, you're gonna follow either the company or the project. So if you're really passionate about that, there's that. But going back to people getting laid off and starting up their own companies, they definitely should, because what probably changes in their mind is like, I don't want to work for a corporation anymore. I don't want to be a slave to the machine.
Yeah.
If I'm going to slave away, I'm going to slave away to myself and try to build something on my own. There's a game company. I think it's probably still around. It's called Stormate.
Mhm.
Though all of the executives from Stormate are ex Facebook employees.
Mm.
So yeah, so they left Facebook to
Right.
start their own company because they knew how the games were performing on Facebook and then also in the App Store. So it's like they followed what they wanted to do, right? And most people do that, and that's kind of like American dream is kind of being your own boss anyways. I don't know why. I don't know when that dream kind of went away, but now everyone just kind of wants to be a corporate slave, and you know,
But
no one's immune to layoffs. Doesn't matter what kind of level doesn't matter how much money the company has.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it's just that I totally get that. I mean, in my role as well. So, um,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, you're a business owner. You're a sole proprietor. You're a CEO. You understand all this. You don't want to be a corporate slave. You're done. You're digital will, man.
uh,
Yeah.
not done
I've
with
never.
executing on our
Yeah.
mission. And I mean, but I mean, to your point, like the if you don't have the passion for it and the passion for the work that you're doing, and the problems that you're trying to solve, um, you're just not going to be as successful as those who will,
Who do? Yeah.
are going to die and do whatever it takes to,
Yeah.
solve a problem or, figure something out. Those people are the people who are going to make it. And those people who got that extra passion, those are the people actually, me as a, CEO, I want on my team, because
Yeah.
those guys will go out of their way, go through it, hell and fire to, um, um, you know,
Yeah.
you help, because they see the vision, and hopefully I conveyed the vision correctly,
Yeah.
and they've subscribed to it, and that they also want to see it through. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's kind of like the question where people ask is, or maybe I ask this question. It's like, would you rather make a lot of money doing something you hate, or make a decent amount of money doing something you love? You know, and most people will pick the latter, but they always do the former,
mm,
because what most people do is they want the money to live a specific lifestyle. And I think that's a problem where people are trying to just marry the lifestyle.
right.
It's like, yeah, it's for me. I don't really chase the money. It is more about the lifestyle. So yeah,
Well, that passion, trying to fulfill your dreams and making that.
yeah,
I mean, you've only got one life to live, and you spend a lot of your
yeah,
life working. So,
yeah,
and on something that you at least enjoy
yeah,
or gain some sort of self fulfillment and out of. So yeah,
yeah. I guess I never really understood that. I guess I'm blessed in a way where I'm in the position where I can do jobs that I love and not have to worry about just taking things because I need them, right? I mean, what kind of kid will tell you that their first job is at a comic book store, like managing the gaming, like trading card game collectible section at a store? Like probably no one, just me, right? And then, yeah, and then, I'm like 17, and then who do you know like used to build cars and motorcycles and also design games and travel abroad to Japan, and I used to also work in Berlin, and I also have an office in Amsterdam and Taiwan. And it's like who do you know like does that? Like just me, dude. I really have never met anybody else. Most of the time people are doing these little side jobs that they absolutely hate just to get by.
Yeah.
I've never really done that. So yeah.
Living the life. And
Living a life. I
A
mean, I'm
life.
living the life that living a life that I wanted. I'm not, I'm living the life that I'm living, but obviously I would love to have more, you know what I'm saying? But right now I'm content with what I have, so I'm good.
That's great.
Yeah.
And your secret pop quiz question is where
Pop
do you
quiz question. Great.
where do you see the industry going in the next let's not say 5 years. Let's say
Where
in
do I see the industry going?
3 years. Let's say 3 years.
I wasn't obviously I wasn't prepared for this question, but where do I see the industry going in the next 3 years or something? So I guess the new topic, right? It's AI.
Yeah.
If there's anything AI does, at least for me right now, is it speeds up the process of what I need to do. So if you're trying to build a product normally that would take 1 to 2 years, with AI, you could probably shorten that down to 3 months or something. Especially if you're doing relying on content generation, because like if you're building a game, content generation takes so long. It's like the code is whatever. It's building out the content, right?
Yeah.
So if you're yeah, so all it does is just speed up your production time, significantly cutting your overhead and everything like that. So if you really want to get good at something, get good at prompting. I've dabbled a lot in Stable Diffusion and Midjourney and stuff like that, and it's like those are other tools that I use currently
Mhm.
for other projects. Just like I said, conveying a vision is very important. A lot of people can't understand the vision without literally visual cues. You can't just tell someone. Sometimes you need to show them.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, if that's where the industry is going in the next couple of years, that's literally what you should do. If you want to get into gaming, be really good at prompting, design and stuff like that, just to speed up time. And I think honestly, this goes back to the staying current. So a lot of the people who are doing art need to really come out of their shell and stop hating AI, and they really need to understand the power of it to utilize it. Yeah, because I know a lot of artists that are really against AI, and they don't even want to look at a picture that's AI generated. Those people are going to be left behind.
Yeah,
they will be left behind. They will be the one working at Starbucks. So yeah. I love Starbucks, dude. I love Starbucks. When I came to Australia, I asked the barista, it's like, "Where's the PSL, man?" Because pumpkin spice latte came out a week before in the States.
Yeah.
And she said, "I don't know." And then I went back the next day, and then they had it. I was like, "Oh shit, pumpkin spice latte for the rest of the trip." Yeah. So yeah.
Awesome.
Also coding though. That does go into coding as well. Because I mean, if you want to, I think one thing that works really well in a startup is that sometimes I would have an idea in the morning, and then by the afternoon, someone would have finished the code for it already, and then we would be able to test it. In a corporate company, that never happens. But I mean, like just speed overall, just to get your ideas across and to get sign off. Time to market. It's like kind of everything, right? So that goes for software developers too, I guess.
Yeah. Well, especially the gaming market that evolves and changes so
quickly,
along with people and what they like, and so that speed is important.
I mean, like you and I, when you're building a platform, you build an engine, you build a game loop or whatever, and then you just kind of razzle dazzle them with some bullshit, art and skin. And if you have the power with AI to generate multiple versions of the same game in a timely manner. I mean, you can A/B test all of them at the same time if you wanted to.
Right.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's pretty hard if you were to do it, by hand. So
Yeah.
it would take too long.
So I mean, use the tools that you got now. That the AI revolution.
Yeah, I mean it. Yeah, I mean, if you still want to fix arms with a stick and some tape, then that's up to you, man.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Here's your time to make a shout out for anything you're working on and want to promote. The floor is yours.
Yeah. So thanks for the plug time. I'm moving to Tokyo early January, and so if you need any type of game concepts, let me know. I like doing concepts, and I can do some documentation for you. Again, it's a very visual thing for me, so I can convey the vision for the product and stuff like that. Hopefully, it aligns with your goals and needs. And if you need to contract me for a short period of time, I can help you through the process of producing a lot of the things and making sure that all of the design is done to specification.
Awesome. And then how can people find and contact you so they can get that?
Yeah, my email address is brian@kagecat.com, or you can just go to my website, kagecat.com.
It's KAGECAT.
CAT. Very good, Will.
Got to make sure
Yeah,
people can.
Yeah, you can spell cat. I'm impressed.
I almost butchered it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for being on the show, and then also thanks Wordle sponsoring the show, the platform for game developers to distribute their games all across the world. Just using one platform, reach the world with Wordle. Thanks again, Brian. Brian Jin for joining the show. I've been your host, Will Bohn, and see you on the next show. Thank you very much.